Summer Showdown starts right now, jumping into the qualifiers here in week number 1, day number 1. Woo. Spitfire versus Mayhem, the first game to kick this all off, Rose. Brand new hero stepping into the fold, a few new maps too.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting, especially because all of these teams are looking at a fresh, clean slate to qualify for the Summer Showdown, where it's really just these 6 qualifier matches that are going to help determine whether or not they make it. So definitely a ton on the line, whether it's just the new stuff or, you know, getting a new start.
Yeah, new stuff, that's the most important thing, right? Junker Queen, of course, playable right now in the Overwatch League. We've seen a little bit in Contenders, and we've seen what kind of comps that people are running over there. I can imagine Overwatch League will take a lot of inspiration from that. It's been quite heavily practiced down in the Tier 2 scene currently. But, you know, it is London Spitfire. A team that kind of wants to shake up the meta a little bit, but people have been pretty high on the Florida Mayhem. Of course, Custer on the desk ended up spreading the Florida Mayhem over London, which most of the desk spreaded for. We had a bit of an argument on the podcast the other day about London versus Mayhem, and we did end up putting Mayhem above London Spitfire to a little bit might have discussed, but that's fine. That's fine. Look, I've got a lot of faith in London, and this is your starting lineup for today. Backbone, who's in DPS slot right now, Sparker, Huddy, Admiral, and Landon.
Yeah, this look from the London Spitfire is definitely one that I expect, especially knowing that we're kicking things off on a control map. You know, having Backbone, he's known for playing the Genji, but then also you've got Sparker on the Sojourn potentially, and just being able to round out that backline as well with a Lucio and a Brigitte. We are definitely seeing the pieces of the puzzle there to potentially play the meta Junker Queen composition. But that big question mark is still over Hotty's head of whether or not we will see a Reinhardt or that Junker Queen, Jack.
I mean, they could always default back to the Reinhardt if they feel like they need to, or if they just want to. Let's have a look at the Florida Mayhem coming in. Now, I spoke a little bit about it before, but a lot of people are quite high on Mayhem right now. I know Avast is specifically, and who wouldn't be when you look at the roster? The desk touched on Checkmate already. His Genji, Xe Sojourn has been looking super clean. Someone that can pick up tank heroes quite quickly, so you can imagine he's been practicing the Junker Queen a whole lot. Arnamo, very good Lucio player still, and RuPaul, the newest addition to the Mayhem, also making his mark on the team.
Yeah, I love that you bring up someone being able to quickly pick up these tank heroes, especially because someone has a bit more of an aggressive approach when it comes to actually playing these main tank heroes. We've seen that in the Mid-Season Madness tournament, and Junker Queen is one of those tanks you can definitely play to a level of success with that aggressive playstyle as well. And knowing that you also have to have that Lucio close by you, I think Animo is going to do a great job of making sure that someone can actually thrive under those more aggressive conditions. But Jack, when we look at this lineup as well, I think one of the pain points for Florida Mayhem may be just how new RuPaul and Animo really are to the Overwatch League stage. And I do feel like I felt a little bit of the nerves watching the Mid-Season Madness tournament with some of those ultimates timed just a little bit off kilter with when they would have loved to be used. So hopefully that has been figured out moving into this next stage.
Yeah, I mean, it very much feels like the veteran and Animo leading RuPaul around, right? The rookie, like you mentioned, Rose, and that's something to keep in mind. If they're not in sync, especially in this meta, it could be a problem. And London Spitfire are so good at picking out weaknesses. Like, Backbone's May has been such a driving force for the team for such a long time now, isolating targets that are just caught off guard completely. Like, London Spitfire, if you give them an opening, they will absolutely blow it apart. Like, that's going to be a problem. Busan is going to be our first map today, and a map that's been around for a long time, but we've not seen it in the Overwatch League this year, so I'm excited to get onto it. We're going to the night version of Busan too, so all the street lamps and lanterns are lit up. Also pretty.
Yeah, I love that we get a chance to have a fresh take on these old maps that we all know and love in Busan. You're getting a first look at what this is going to end up being like when it ends up in the game. But yeah, you can see the card across your screen. The last meeting of these teams was during the Mid-Season Madness. The desk touched on this as well, where Florida Mayhem really did clutch it out, and I feel like it was this match in particular between these two teams that just really did make Florida Mayhem stand out as a team that is in top contention as one of the best teams in the West.
Okay, it's day one. Please. Already a pause. Come on, man.
I'm trying so hard to ignore it, Jaws. I just don't want to deal with the boss right now. But it's okay. It's the Western region. What else did we expect here?
Oh, no, it's all good. I'm looking at the chat. Everybody ready. Okay.
Whew.
Just this brief one. We'll get it out of our systems right now so we suffer no more interruptions later down the line. Come on now. Come on. Well, okay, let's have a look at what people are hovering right now and kind of talk about the competitions that contenders have been running and which we'll more than likely see for the majority of the Summer Showdown. It has been the Ashe/Sojourn and the Genji/Echo for the DPS slot. Most teams running, depending on the map, of course, the Junker Queen and double main support. Brig with the Lucio, taxiing people around, taxiing Junker Queen around, getting up in people's faces. The Lucio speed boost, by the way, does stack with Commanding Shout, which you just go like an F1 car at the backline if you're not
it does. Commanding Shout does increase your movement speed by 30% when used, and so that on top of the speed boost is definitely going in fast. It will be London Spitfire that will beat Florida Mayhem to the punch of getting to the drum first, though.
Yeah, Commanding Shout used by London Spitfire pretty early. Mayhem a little bit afterwards. Someone in a little bit of trouble, though, has to back up all the way. And in fact, London's the first one to go down. London Spitfire losing their Brig. Not off to the best start in the world. Now someone can just lead the charge forward. When you lose your support that early in this comp, you are as good as done. Florida Mayhem capped the point first. Now they're just picking up some stagger kills as they gain that percent.
Good stuff to kick things off here for the Mayhem, and now they get to set up, and I think that's one of the most important things when you're looking at the long-range damage that the Ashe provides. XE does get really low, but it does provide a great opportunity for RuPaul to build up to this rally, to have that online. Look at how fast RuPaul is outpacing Landon right now.
Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, Landon died really early on too, so not great for the ult bank, that's for sure. And you got to keep in mind too the amount of healing available for both of these comps, right? The Lucio and the Brig. If the Brig goes down, you only rely on that Lucio healing you up. I guess the Commanding Shout to give you overhealth for a short while, but that's about it. So losing the Brig, probably the worst thing that could happen. Duel on the high ground. XE does lose it, but both Ashes falling with checkmate with the cleanup. And now London Spitfire putting themselves in position to get to the backline. But with that ult from RuPaul, it should be done. London Spitfire didn't have that rally first. Mayhem run them over.
At this point, though, as well, London Spitfire can take that economy push, and the fact that you get that rally out of RuPaul now does mean that you are forcing Florida Mayhem to start to use other tools. But London Spitfire are running out of time. That percentage is capturing very, very quickly here for Florida Mayhem, and we're very close to one-fight territory. London Spitfire are going to have to go in and try to set the pace of this next fight with their ults.
Kind of hoping we see a rampage, but
maybe not this round.
But we're maybe not seeing it this round. Yeah, Junker Queen's not doing a crazy amount of damage, more being a tank and a shift bot, Commanding Shout bot right now. Bomb available for Sparker. There comes the Blade for the Mayhem. However, it's going to get countered with the Blade. London Spitfire still have an ult to work with in the support line. Landon's got that rally. They trade a Genji for a Lucio. London Spitfire can't exactly march on forward. Mayhem can just play to the backline. There's no worry that London Spitfire can't get on top of them right now. A beat for the Florida Mayhem as they do run on forward. There's a bomb on the point for London Spitfire to contest, and the Rampage does end up coming out. It hits both Landon and Sparker, and they are sent all the way back to spawn. And an easy clean for the Mayhem as they take round number one.
Very clean start for Florida Mayhem, and this is kind of like a nice clinical look at how this composition is supposed to function. And it goes back to, you know, being able to bolster up someone's very aggressive style of tank play, and you can see that Animo is right there next to him, making sure that he is able to get in and get very aggressive. RuPaul as well, just making sure that you've got those cookie packs to be able to hand over to checkmate, for example. And under the Commanding Shout, I feel like this Genji is just unstoppable, Jack. It's so difficult to actually take down, and that Dragon Blade can do a ton of damage despite having a sound barrier or something to be able to respond to that.
Yeah, Commanding Shout is very strong. Very, very strong. I remember when me and Scott were playing the beta, the Wave 2 beta, whatever you want to call it. And I was the Genji in that comp, right? And then Scott was the Junker Queen. I was like, just hit shift, I dive backline, I kill supports, it's okay. Or like when you go in with the blades, you've got to time with that commanding shout because you're pretty unstoppable. Of course, the caveat to that is there's a Junker Queen on the other side, so you can just trade rallying, commanding shouts at that point. All right, Mecha Base. Nice dynamite damage there from Exy. Wow, that hit a lot of people and someone ends up getting cleaved down. Nice little knife kill from Hardy. Florida Mayhem not looking so great on this round. Nice little pull in from Hardy once again. And this is what you want to see from the London Spitfire. It's not exactly like the Rhine comp, but you want to see them get in people's faces. That's what they're good at doing.
Yeah, it is kind of like its own flavor of Rush now, isn't it? Just kind of smack into the other team and try to deal as much damage as possible. Especially with Junker Queen at the helm, you really are looking at that Jagged Blade, which is the melee weapon, to really kind of wound enemies, dealing that damage over time, and then allowing something like the Genji to come in and clean up, like Checkmate just did to Backbone.
Well, that was a little bit of a feed there by Backbone, unfortunately. Checkmate's on fire, but look at the speed up from that commanding shout, separating London Spitfire. Unfortunately, right now, there's 3 people in the small room without a Junker Queen. Hardy can't be there for a bullet sponge. Their support's a history. And the Florida Mayhem managed to pick off Backbone and then split up the backline of the London Spitfire. Exy in control of the high ground. Backbone is gone. So is Hardy. And Checkmate showing off his skills on the Genji.
Oh, this is what the desk was talking about as well, and what a great show of it. Checkmate just being such a proficient Genji, and then Exy, of course, taking that top Sojourn, one of those top Sojourn spots in the West, and also translating that over to some impressive Ashe play. And so love getting a chance to see both of these players shine on these DPS heroes. London Spitfire, though, they do have a chance to come back into this one, having both support ultimates available. So if you see Admiral or Landon utilize their ult on top of Hadi's commanding shout, and then you get a nice rush in, that could be success for the London Spitfire.
Nice headshot on Bob. Look, it's separated Spark from the rest of his team. He's got a Bob of his own, but it might not matter. The blade gets pulled by Checkmate. He's trying to chase the Lucio around. He gets one reset. Can he get another? RuPaul does end up going down, but Checkmate with a nice slash kills 2. And the Florida Mayhem continue to hold the point. Why was this guy ever playing tank, by the way, when his Genji is this clean? Of course, in Overwatch 1, Genji wasn't that good, but, you know, seeing Checkmate on a DPS put them blades like that, it feels pretty damn good if you're a Florida fan.
Yeah, you can see that there is a lot of practice that the Florida Mayhem have really kind of put together for this stage. Hadi, though, trying to go in to be able to do something to get this point back.
Look at the quick rotation from Florida Mayhem. Wow, that bomb is going to do basically nothing. Sparker tried to cut the Florida Mayhem off and get a pick or two, but Florida Mayhem just back all the way up. Exy's in a little bit of trouble. Both DPS were looking at him from the London Spitfire. As the beat gets used from Florida Mayhem, Checkmate finds 2 resets, maybe a third. Sparker's pretty low. Dashes straight into his face, make that 3 kills. He can carry this whole thing if the London Spitfire let him. He is pretty low, though, without many supports to really back him up. Now in a 1v1 versus Backbone. Both of you used the deflect already, but a beautiful boop from the Lucio, and Checkmate cleans him up. 4 kills for Checkmate in that fight, and a rampage from someone to push London Spitfire all the way back. A rally for Mayhem so they don't die so quickly, and now they're trying to separate Hadi from the rest of the team. Sparker ends up going down to Exy yet again as the London Spitfire utilize their last ult in this fight. It is a beat, and it only hit 2. The Florida Mayhem with a clean sweep on the London Spitfire to start off the Summer Showdown. They end this map 2-0.
Woohoo! Florida Mayhem coming out swinging here. That was impressive to see, and you know, I do love that we are seeing the Junker Queen look from London Spitfire, but man, Florida Mayhem look like a well-oiled machine with this composition.
Oh, they're looking so... Checkmate is looking good. He is looking good. Custer's going to be happy with himself. That is for sure. And maybe Avast too. London Spitfire not off to the best starts, but London are definitely a team to shake up the meta when they want to. We'll see if they want to play anything else going into hybrid. Probably not, but it's always nice to speculate. We're going to jump to that quick break. We'll be back for map number 2. Welcome back. Here's a nice little Junk Queen stat card to start off the tournament. Why not?
Ooh.
Why not? So look at someone's Junker Queen on Busan. Looking pretty clean so far. Looking pretty good. Rampage kills sitting at a nice 3, which is not bad at all. It's pretty easy to finish up people when you hit the Rampage. The cone of damage, and of course it applies an anti-heal too, is quite large. So if you're in the way of it, yeah, you're gonna die. There's the easy follow-up, and in these comps that they're playing, Rose, there's a lot of easy follow-up.
There is absolutely, when you look at kind of like the Genji getting dash resets, or even just like the Ashe getting dynamite damage or getting some headshots, definitely easy ways to clean up. But I love that Checkmate is kind of continuing to live up to his top 10 standing as like one of the top 10 players in terms of eliminations this season. Yeah, it's a good start. It's a good start for him, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Good start for the Mayhem, although they are making a quick substitution. They're having Animo step back. We've got Surmajed coming in. Now, Checkmate may have the highest, some of the highest eliminations this season, but Surmajed has been on the opposite end of that. He's got some of the highest like deaths per 10 as a stat. And I wonder how that changes in this meta, because you can just, we kind of saw it here on Busan, but when you get rolling, you like really get rolling, and it's incredible. I feel like it's incredibly tough to come back, because as soon as you get these snowballs of support ultimates, it's, especially on control, it's almost impossible, like an impossible mountain to climb. We saw London Spitfire in the first round of control. Landon died super early, and you mentioned, Rose, how quickly Florida Mayhem got their rally before London Spitfire did. It's a bit of a different map now as we head to Hollywood, but still, those supports in this meta are so crucial. Not only Genji with the cookies, but taxiing someone and Checkmate around the map to making sure they can set up kills.
Exactly, and so I do appreciate that you brought up the Surmajed point. You know, especially if Surmajed wants to end up running the Lucio at some point, that's a hero that you really just can't let die so quickly. And I do feel like during the Mid-Season Madness tournament, we saw Surmajed as kind of the focus fire of a lot of the teams that they were playing against, and ultimately ended up being one of the first people picked off. But Florida Mayhem are on the defense, and they're showing us a little bit of a different style to this composition that we're not really used to seeing if you have paid attention to the Contenders tournaments. But
that was nice. That's a pretty good start. Oh my word, yeah. There you go. There's a lesson to everybody out there in the chat. Don't spam jump as a support. It can be pretty disastrous. But actually, be super low. I'm surprised Spartan didn't try and go for that kill. Good start. Florida Mayhem's defense, which requires RuPaul and Surmajed to stay alive on the high ground, has been thwarted so far. Now they're going to look for RuPaul to come back and land an anti-nade on the front line. Florida Mayhem engage with that commanding shout, but London Spitfire let theirs go a little bit early, and now Backbone's the one isolated. And they're getting picked off by Checkmate, and Florida Mayhem actually come back, regardless of RuPaul dying pretty early. Checkmate manages to find 2 isolated kills on the London Spitfire before they managed to find that 3rd tick.
At least, like, you know, London Spitfire are walking away with a little bit of progress here, especially when they were able to capitalize off of that huge headshot pick from the Widowmaker onto RuPaul. But yeah, this is kind of like going back to what we were talking about before, is that there is so much follow-up damage. If someone is just going to continue to push out these impressive stats for the Junker Queen, you know that, like, that's enough damage that Checkmate or Xe could really follow up on that. So you're looking at this Sombra to really make a difference.
Oh, that was an unbelievable anti-nade from RuPaul. That hit every single one of the London Spitfire right there. He got a ton of ult charge for that. 80% online. They end up killing Backbone in that mess of a fight in that corridor. They might as well just go in. There's no more Genji to get the dash resets. Landon's alone, no shield. Is getting his health chipped down, and someone finishes him off with a nice little knife kill. Pulls in Admiral, but Admiral is just giving him the runaround right now. Someone's lost him. He eventually cleans him up, and London Spitfire unable to make anything stick right now.
Yeah, I mean, you do end up seeing a little bit of that progress return on the point, but after the entire team gets split up like that, it's so difficult to come back from a position such as that one. But Backbone making a bit of a difference.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable amount of time Hardy stayed alive, but luckily, because that anti-nade, RuPaul got the nano online super early, helped someone out, and the Florida Mayhem making their stand on point A.
Good stuff with the London Spitfire also working up to the EMP. That is something that they have been trying to play for, is just being able to capture this first objective, but it's very risky here. Does it work?
EMP, commanding shout to heal everybody up. There's the Bob to the savior of the Florida Mayhem. Spark is still trying to find that execution kill on the back. Okay, London killed one, or maybe a half. Bob's dead, at least. Summer Shed spotted in the backline. Rampage comes out, but a beat to match. Blade pulled, and he's the target. Who is it? It's someone, but he's still swinging away. Backbone's got almost no damage down, and a big cleave from someone. The axe was absolutely huge. When you hit people with the axe, not only do you get the dot damage, but that adrenaline rush keeps your health bar topped up. Something pretty.
Yeah.
47 seconds to go for the London Spitfire, and they've only got one ult to use.
Ooh, well, that's a pretty big pick there. And now that Hadi also has the Rampage, let's see if it's able to open up the door.
We're just going to have to do something. They've got 66% already. Backbone goes pretty low. Rootport in a little bit of trouble. There's the Rampage from Hadi. He can just line this up through the door. He ends up hitting only one, and it is someone, but that commanding shout might be able to keep him alive. Didn't look like he had it, though, as it didn't end up going off. XZ takes down Backbone. They're still trading 1-for-1, so it's now a 3-on-3 on the point, but Checkmate's got the nano, and you best believe he's getting killed. Landon boops him away, but it's not enough before the Shurikens end his life. There's a couple of seconds to go, and the blade has been pulled. Checkmate kills both supports, almost ends Sparker's life before he recalled, and overtime is still ticking down. A Translocator on the point to continue the OT, but it is now just Checkmate versus Backbone, and the Florida Mayhem are going to hold first.
What? Checkmate? Hello? That was incredible, Jack. I mean, it really did look like London Spitfire had the ability to finish capturing that first point. Obviously, it's not over yet. They did get 90% of first, but that was such an impressive hero performance from Checkmate's Genji, and what a smart choice to bring the Ana along with that as well, just knowing that that's enough to kind of push that damage over the edge to deal with the layering of something like the commanding shout, and then also just a lot of the support that would be coming in from the rally or the sound barrier.
He's just so good, man. As soon as you get him on that Genji pick, as soon as you get on the Genji pick, he looks so clean. Let's see what they want to do on the offense. London Spitfire, okay. Classic using the Sombra on the defense. So this must have been the big anti-nade. Oh, yeah. Yes, it was. Boom. Oh, it didn't actually hit Backbone. Okay, so it hit 4, but still. Unbelievable amount of damage. Free ult charge for RuPaul. We'll take that any day of the week. And remember, RuPaul was the last piece to the puzzle, I should say, that got added to the Florida Mayhem. He is making a namesake for himself.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a really nice contrast to what we saw from the Midseason Madness tournament. I mean, I think the support line is really, like, honed in at the moment. RuPaul and Surmajed, kind of the newer team members to the Florida Mayhem and newer to the league overall. And you're seeing the impact that they can have when they are able to bolster up this incredible front line, whether it is someone or it's the DPS. This is all coming together so beautifully here for this team.
Oh dear. You spoke about it before, Rose, but Surmajed's normally the first target, and you can see Sparker just hunting him down. London Spitfire running this Sombra. Oh, look at this free ult charge. Thank you very much. 45% already on the Sombra. Oh my god. Even Backbone, 50% on the Genji. Chase him all the way back to spawn.
That feels
I like
so
the Sombra play, I really do. But you have to be so proactive.
Yeah, you can see that, I mean, Sparker is still setting up near the spawn of the Florida Mayhem to make sure that he can have this kind of pincer with the rest of the London Spitfire's front line. And you can see Surmajed is definitely the target. Look at that.
He's got him in his sights. He's like just tracking him while he's invisible. Kind of harsh.
Oh.
A beacon of information is Sparker right now. Nice hack on XZ. You got to be careful though, because XZ can fire back. Oh dear. Not an execution on Surmajed this time around. It was maybe on the front line. No one could follow up onto XZ on the high ground as soon as you hack him. London Spitfire needs to come back fast. One tick's gone. Second one's coming soon. Admiral on the Lucio's going to be able to touch while that second tick comes through, but he gets dynamited and he's antied and he's dead. Now only a couple of percentage points away before they end up claiming the point. Backbone is gone. Mayhem have taken it. The London Spitfire go down 2-0. Mayhem off to an unbelievable start in the Summer Showdown qualifiers.
They took that momentum that they had from the mid-season Madness tournament where they really started to shine as a team, and they are capitalizing on it right now. It's so cool to watch as this team, I feel like, is finally becoming the team that people were hoping to see from them.
I want to see the grin right now on Scott's face as he looks at both Danny and Johnny on the desk. That's what I want to see currently. He's the only one that predded Mayhem on the desk.
Right.
I wonder how they're feeling. I mean, London Spitfire, look, they have been known for the rush and their aggressive tempo setting, but they were just unable to come up with much here. They had one really good early attack, but didn't end up working out. The Mayhem off to a good start. 2-0 in the series so far. One more map away from claiming their first win in the Summer Showdown qualifiers. We're jumping to map number 3 after this. Consider me your guardian angel, because I'm reminding you to grab the Royal Knight Mercy skin before it's too late. Probably the best skin other than, I guess, Remix Witch Mercy? Not sure. That's up for debate for sure. Grab the Mid-Season Madness Legendary skin on sale now through August 19th for just 200 League tokens. So you got a little bit of time to grab it if you haven't already. So yeah, there you go.
So such a good-looking skin too.
It is.
I'm so excited that it's still around for people to grab. But you have one more week, so hurry up.
A week. Yeah. Make sure you get on that. Right, London Spitfire versus the Florida Mayhem, Rose. Oh boy. Florida Mayhem with a fantastic hold on first on Hollywood. They're keeping so much in. No more Arnamo for the rest of the series, it looks like, if they want to end it here. London Spitfire need to reverse sweep Florida Mayhem, who reverse swept them last time they met in the Mid-Season Madness. But it's not looking so good right now.
No, it does look like London Spitfire is struggling just a little bit, but I feel like it's more so because Florida Mayhem are just playing like crazy good, Jack. I mean, we got to talk about Checkmate, right? We got some stats from our stats team that we just have to mention. I mean, 25-4 for Checkmate on the Genji?
I mean,
what?
Is stupid numbers right now. And the person behind Checkmate, Rose, is Exy. At 16 final blows. So like almost a 10 final blow difference right there. And then someone is behind Exy. Like the top 3 fraggers in the server right now, Checkmate, Exy, and someone. Like Florida Mayhem just look too good right now. We are going on to Gibraltar, Rose. Typically a map, even when we saw a whole lot of Rush being played and just all the different comps and the variations of the meta, we've seen a lot more kind of dive. And London Spitfire, they're not like crazy foreign to the dive at all. It's been something that's actually gotten better over the last few weeks. But they are actually just going with the Jungle Queen again. Okay, so no Winston, no kind of dive stuff. I can imagine maybe on the offense you do that more so, but we'll have to wait and see what Florida want to run out with.
Yeah, it is a little funny because, you know, the Winston choice is definitely something that we think of as very classic to Gibraltar, but the fact that Junker Queen has such strong abilities right now, I think you just really want to try to use those to your advantage as much as possible. And so it doesn't surprise me a whole lot that London Spitfire, you know, regardless of the outcome of this match, may just want to use this as a testing ground for how they can really make this Junker Queen composition work. There is one piece of that I have some questions about, and that is that Sombra choice that Sparker is going to elect for once again. Felt very underwhelming when we looked at it on Hollywood, but maybe on Gibraltar it will be a bit better. Those hacks can really help you to try to shut off something like a deflect that may really hinder your team's ability going in and just trying to chunk out some of that damage. And then also, Sir Majed playing the Zenyatta makes a nice target for that hack as well.
It very well does, but the problem is there's no one to dive on that target, right? And you can play so far in the background if you're RuPaul and Sir Majed. Even if you do find a hack on one of those supports, like the follow-up isn't really going to be there unless the Florida Mayhem support line is on top of the London Spitfire. Nice little manual hack, but there you go. There's the commanding shout to make sure Checkmate does stay alive. But setting up these targets to dive on top of is going to be Sparker's imperative right now. Oh! Exy falls over. Whoops a daisy.
Quick reset there. You know, Florida Mayhem are very close to their spawn right now, so it won't matter too much, especially when you can get an opening pick like that.
Okay.
Ooh, yikes! That's a pretty big pick for Checkmate.
Yeah. So no hell. Uh-oh, now Landon's alone. And he's against the entire horde that is the Florida Mayhem. Yep, no way you're escaping that one, buddy. And I think this is the big problem with the Sombra here. It just takes too long to set up these attacks. If it's with a Winston or something, you can just instantly dive on a hack target, but it takes so long for the London Spitfire really to do much with the Sombra. You kind of prefer the upfront damage. We'll see if that matters into the hangar stage, but they do get another point of defense here. Batman does go pretty low, however. There's a commanding shout from London Spitfire and Florida Mayhem. And so with those abilities down, not the greatest as Hardy and someone in the front line unless you get nanoed, which was what happened to someone right now. Checkmate is pretty low. Someone just charging forward and a nice nade once again by RuPaul to take care of Avril. And there is point A unlocked, hangar stage in progress.
Well, when we look at London Spitfire's use of the Sombra, you can see that the EMP is finally getting worked up here, but Sir Mashed, holy moly, a kick, an orb to the face. It makes a lot of sense.
His mechanics are so good.
They are super
Sir Mashed. Just, he does get focused a whole bunch, and yeah, that Death per 10. I'm sure that's going to go down this stage by the looks of them right now.
Zenyatta, you know, Jack.
Yeah, that's true. It does feel pretty bad. But the Transcendence from Sir Mashed countering that Blade. Or not countering the Blade, helping the Blade. That rally a little bit later on, and unfortunately, it's only landing getting that overhealth. Backbone's got a little bit from the commanding shout. He's Backbone trying to take out RuPaul, but an unkillable target right now. He can't kill him. Okay, Brig to the rescue. RuPaul is dead. Okay, that late rally from Landon didn't look so great, but it ended up working out for the London Spitfires. They do manage to hold on.
Oh, you're still looking at some of the same mechanics as some of our previous metas, right? Like the later support ultimate can sometimes be enough to trump the other team. So really nice timing of that from the London Spitfire. But Florida Mayhem, they've made a couple of small changes here. One, most notably, is Xe has switched over to the Sojourn, and he's still very good at this hero.
Man, Checkmate just dipping Backbone right now in the Genji head-to-head, I'll tell you that. Checkmate getting out of that one scot-free, and London Spitfire tried to set up something, but wow. They dove on the Florida Mayhem, and Florida Mayhem took them with open arms. London Spitfire switched away from the Sombra, now they're on Sojourn. So it's almost a complete mirror match, apart from the supports.
Yeah, we do see that Sojourn pick as well. I think this is smart from the London Spitfire. The Sombra just isn't working as intended. And so may as well go for something that's going to provide you more consistent damage.
That Rampage was super good. Someone ends up going down. That beat from the London Spitfire, good enough to counteract that anti-nade, or not the anti-nade, anti-Rampage. I'm gonna have to find a term for that somehow. Nano onto Sir Mashed. He do be kicking though, and he do be dying. Backbone finishes him up. Yeah, you can nano Sir Mashed, sure, but when everybody's looking at him, that damage resist doesn't really do all too much. 2 minutes to go. Florida Mayhem is still quite close to that second checkpoint.
Hey, it's still smart to nano the Zenyatta, okay? I'm really glad that that has stuck around for this stage, because that has been such a delight to watch in our first one. But Sir Mashed actually going to switch off now. In fact, we're going to see a full support line swap here from the Florida Mayhem, as they are starting to run out of some time in order to actually get those support ultimates online if they want to before overtime kicks in here. And so for Gita and Lucio, more classic pieces of this Junker Queen composition we're used to seeing.
Checkmate's in trouble. Dash up into the high ground. It's all good. Just waiting for Blade might be the idea here for the Florida Mayhem, or even that overclock, to be fair. Got to be careful, because that Rampage is going to come out. Someone is going to commanding shout to survive the initial damage, but Hardy's going to chase him up. Hardy looking a little bit different today. But the Florida Mayhem are pushed back once again. They do consistently touch the payload, so it doesn't go too far backwards. However, with only a minute to go, they need to find something. Overclock, they got the Blade online, no nano to mix with it. But they're happy that Hardy ended up using that Rampage in that last fight.
Yeah, this is going to open the door up a lot for Florida Mayhem to go in and get their ultimate's value. I mean, Checkmate does have to heal up first. They're taking a lot of poke before they're actually able to enter the hangar, and I think this is, you know, either going to be great for London Spitfire to follow up on that.
Nice dash to start off with. Backbone takes care of RuPaul. Both Brigittas now dead. Checkmate trying to go to that payload to try and put pressure on the London Spitfire, force them to move, but they were happy to do so. The payload was quite a way away from the point. No C9s were going to happen there. And with only 10 seconds to go, it's only Sir Mashed. He can wall ride, but he's wall riding all the way back to spawn. 3 ults for the London Spitfire to defend this last point. Only the overclock for Xe. He activates it on the high ground, but RuPaul is dead. No one to touch the point. And the London Spitfire, they hold him just before second.
Kind of rare to see that on Gibraltar, but I think that it speaks to how well London were controlling the space and also those choke points that Florida Mayhem could actually reach the hangar space from. I mean, just kind of calling out again how much damage they were taking before they were even able to enter into the hangar and get even an inch closer to that spaceship. Definitely tough for them to just sustain through a lot of that poke damage coming through. When Sparker switched to the Sojourn, that was very big difference.
Yeah, it almost turned it around, right? That Sombra just wasn't working out. Didn't really work out on the last map, not working out here. And the Sojourn really helped. And it also helped by the new passive of the DPS. Definitely worth mentioning. We haven't talked about it just yet, but when you do end up switching DPS characters now, you retain some of that ultimate charge. So it's around 30% or so, depending on how much ult charge you had previous to the swap. So, for example, if the Sombra does have like 90%-ish on the EMP and she switches, although why would you switch to 90%? But just an example, you do end up retaining a lot of that ult charge. That 30% or so does go over to the next hero you switch. So it was the Sojourn in that case. So you end up coming back to the fight with a little bit of ult charge that you didn't have before.
Yeah, it's not as punishing, and it allows for you to make these quick swaps that will be more beneficial for the composition overall. Of course, you're going to see Hottie just come out on the Roadhog for a split second to try to get a quick hook combo and then switch back over to the Junker Queen here. Put Xe on the Widowmaker here does make this a very difficult and more tricky for the London Spitfire to get through.
Oh, so you hear the Genji, but you cannot see the Genji. And now you are seeing the backup spawn. Whoopsie-daisy. There was no heals there, unfortunately. RuPaul and Summer Showdown a bit preoccupied. Nice dynamite from Sparker. Okay, so Rose, they're now really just getting out of the Sombra rut, I feel like they were in. Going on to that Ashe. Ashe is super good on this map too. If you control that high ground, the dynamite damage is insane stuff.
Looking at the dynamites, and then I'm also just looking at how Backbone is going to get positioned to be able to follow up on some of that damage.
Right, Checkmate gets pushed out. Yeah, they swap positions with a Checkmate. Xe, again, super low, coming back from the spawn. Backbone just spawn camps in. Very happy with that kill onto someone. Sermajed and RuPaul just a little bit distracted, it feels like. Didn't have any heals to sling towards someone. Xe still on the Widowmaker. Is going to be walking into a wall of the London Spitfire right now if he's not careful. And there you go, free checkpoint. Who's going to touch? Checkmate or the double supports? Yeah, it's a tough decision. And now you're just going to go down to the stagger. London Spitfire off to a good start. Checkmate does somehow kill both supports, by the way. Just checkmate things, I suppose.
It's still in the back line, too.
What is happening? Why are you in the spawn? Okay, whatever. I mean, that's fine. Ideally, you don't want to give too much ult charge, so you run into them, get some ult charge for yourself, but London Spitfire now can take the high ground almost for free, with Backbone and Admiral being able to boot people off height.
And this is just, the payload is almost towards its destination here. It's arriving post-haste. And Xe still hasn't really found the value I would have expected to get from this Widowmaker. I'd love to see him, if this does work, maybe switch over to something that has a bit more point presence.
Oh.
But we spoke into existence.
Yeah,
See?
proves you wrong.
No, when you say something like that out in the universe, you're supposed to get the alternate back, right? So I was just helping Xe out there, you know?
Ah, that makes sense. You're on Xe's side, I see. All right, Florida Mayhem. Just the old spawn. I wouldn't say a spawn camp, but it was the old spawn point of Florida Mayhem. They do end up forcing London Spitfire away. Still got a lot of time to burn down. They didn't use any ults in that fight, so still Nanoblade up. Rampage coming up soon. Transcendence, they're looking pretty good.
Well, when you know that London Spitfire also has probably worked up to the double support ultimate, and then of course the DPS ultimates of their own, that Nanoblade looks even better if you're able to maybe force out support ultimate first and then go in and just get those slashes.
Oh, what a headshot. The Nano, the Blade, that beat came out from the London Spitfire to survive the Nanoblade, but Hardy just was not in its AoE. So ended up getting headshot, then body shot by Xe and taken down. You take, well, I guess you do take that trade, yeah. So, sorry, it wasn't even a Nanoblade. I must have seen an anti or something, or just a Bionade on Checkmate. So they saved the Nano in that fight. You trade that for a beat any day of the week.
Yeah, that Nano can be so valuable, but the sound barrier even more so. So definitely love that Florida Mayhem can hold on to that, but they also still have the Transcendence as well, which could really help out to maybe deal with something like the Blade from Backbone that's still online.
Nice headshot. There's a Blade, this time from Backbone. Got the commanding shout, so he's rather healthy, but that Transcendence from the Florida Mayhem making sure they survive that engage. Nice wraparound from London, I will say. Going up on high ground, commanding Shout to try and get on top of Exi. Just didn't end up working out. Florida Mayhem used 3 ults in that fight. Have now just got the Rampage to use.
Well, the Jungle Queen composition is still very positional. And so making sure that you are taking some of that territory to really help you with maybe some of those health packs or those close quarters can very much be a boon to your strategy. But poor RuPaul there getting caught out.
Oh, and Summerjet gets reflected. Oh, no. Backbone jumps the high ground, reflects Summerjet's orb straight back into him. Someone in a little bit of trouble, in a lot of trouble, in fact. Rampage, Rally, Bob. Lion Spitfire looking pretty good. Wrap around this final corner. It's only Florida Mayhem's Jungle Queen ult to defend against. There's the Rally.
Maybe a headshot? Tough to approach.
Yeah, with the overhealth is pretty bad. There comes the Bob, the gatekeeper for the London Spitfire, and Summerjet's already dead. He was actually trying to get an off angle somewhere, somehow. Ain't gonna happen. There you go, London Spitfire still in this series. Can they find the reverse sweep? Get some revenge, some sweet, sweet revenge on the Florida Mayhem. All right, this is where it begins. They switch off that Sombra, and hey, look at that.
Magic.
Sparker does work on that Ashe.
I feel like every team needs to listen to Avril, okay? Sombra's still kind of pee-pee poo-poo. Like, you could be good with the Sombra, but it's just not, that's not it, Chief. And London Spitfire hopefully will stick with this Ashe or this Sojourn. Very good stuff.
Well, let's find out. Florida Mayhem still on match point. Still got a map to take, and then they take the series. We're going to push as our next game mode. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. The last time these two teams met, the Florida Mayhem started their reverse sweep on Gibraltar. Spitfire looking to turn the tables on them as they potentially start their reverse sweep also on Gibraltar. We're going into map number 4 in just a moment. It is Push and it is Colosseo. We do have one sub, Mayhem, going with Animo instead of Sermajet for this one.
Yeah, well, you know, if Sermajet, you know, we've seen that Zenyatta look from him for most of this series that he's been in so far, and so it does make a little bit more sense that we're going into a, you know, more control-y style. And so going back to the basics of where we started on Busan with Animo playing that Lucio makes a ton of sense here, especially when Florida Mayhem has such an explosive performance to start out this series. This could be a good way to close it out, Jack.
Very well could be. I mean, the London Spitfire have changed their comp up a little bit since we've swapped the maps. And look, at the end of the day, the London Spitfire, they are the team people will look to shift the meta. Right now, it's just kind of Junker Queen, what we expected really was this Jotes or Junker Queen Goats with the Lucio, the Brig, the Junker Queen, and then a mixture of Ashe, Sojourn, and the Genji. We are seeing Echo a little bit every now and then in contenders, but I think that's more map reliant and I guess player reliant too. We'll see what they want to go towards in Colosseo, because this is, Rose, this is also a map where you can run the rush pretty easily. Like, London have shown such a proficiency on rush, and playing it on Colosseo with Backbone's May, they've looked so good on this map specifically, so I guess they're kind of happy going to this one.
Yeah, and the other thing about that too is that Sparker really showed us how you can use all of those different angles, whether it is kind of being taxied around by the Lucio to kind of surprise the enemy team. But yeah, I think that on all accounts, London Spitfire really do have a deep understanding of how to play Colosseo. It's just about whether or not that skill can translate over to playing a different composition. Like, there's still some stylistic differences here that may be a bit of a pain point for the London Spitfire so far. I think also you have to look at the fact that Checkmate's been popping off as the Genji as something that might be a little tough to just overcome as a whole, but London definitely, I would like to either see the Reinhardt here or just kind of, you know, stick tight as a group and just clash.
Yeah, they still be going crazy though. I mean, that's the thing. You can't count Mayhem out just yet. Checkmate, if he just continues to perform like he has done, this might be a little bit of cakewalk. We will see. That is what I wanted to see from London. We'll see if they do end up sticking with it, but I really do think Colosseo, you're still able to just run people down with the Lucio and the Reinhardt, and then with the May. It could be quite scary. And Junker Queen hasn't got too many ways to escape. You can commanding shout yourself, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of look around, hit the wall with the axe or the shotgun, or like hopefully just swing forward with the axe and then hit multiple people to get the adrenaline rush, to get the small amount of healing back.
Right.
But yeah, it is tough. London Spitfire, this will be the first time we're seeing them run a rush so far in the Summer Showdown qualifiers, so we'll see how it fares against the Junker Queen.
Yeah, that's the big question mark that I have is the Reinhardt going to, like, is Hadi's Reinhardt good enough to be able to diff the Junker Queen composition, basically, especially when you have other pieces that Florida Mayhem have to really support the Junker Queen, like Checkmate's Genji, like Xy's Sojourn. It's just really strong that a lot of Florida Mayhem feel like they can play heroes that they're very, very comfortable on and very proficient with. But London Spitfire, same.
Yeah, well, Xy's Sojourn has been one of wonders, that's for sure. Sparker in a little bit of trouble. Misses the railgun shot though, does Xy, so he has to back all the way up. Anti-A from Landon was pretty decent, hit Xy and someone. It's just about jostling for position, waiting for that speed boost and the wall from Backbone to try and isolate somebody. Luckily this time around, someone lands on top of the wall, but still goes pretty low, I will say, with that little headshot. And now Checkmate putting himself in danger. Got that over health from the commanding shout, but didn't have the dash to try and get out alive. Now we're one person down. London Spitfire can just march on forward.
Well, that's the thing that I think the Reinhardt composition is really good at, and something that London Spitfire in particular is able to do is just identify when those cooldowns aren't available for mobility and go in and just, like a shark, just clean up house. So I love that London Spitfire can kind of continue to show us that brightness that this Reinhardt composition really has had for them. Landon also already up with the nano boost. Whew, boy.
Oh my god. I think that nano was actually supposed to go on Sparker, but it went on Hardy. Perfect person to do it with IMO. Group all in a little bit of trouble. No way you're escaping the hammer swings from Chuddy. However, the rest of his team, not quite so lucky in this fight. Hardy may have cleaned up too, but it is now Checkmate and the rest of the squad to try and deal with him. However, if London Spitfire just managed to hold here, wouldn't be a bad thing. Reset onto Landon, Checkmate jumps over the shield. Still 30 meters or so. It's not the worst thing in the world if you're London. You have the Blizzard coming back, and you've even got the High Noon. And
you might even have the Earth Shatter as well. Like Hardy's definitely going to be holding the front line here, but also going back, you could see that there was that big charge over to just make sure that Landon could pop him back up before they go back in. But Florida Mayhem also coming in, packing a punch. They've got 4 ultimates to use.
There's the nano, there's the play. Dash reset straight out of that Blizzard. Yeah, that's going to get absolutely nobody. Checkmate just tips his toes back in the pool. Thanks, Garrett Backbone. Thank you very much. And they're going to be able to take the lead. That defensive Blizzard not working out for London at all.
Well, Florida Mayhem, like when we looked at Busan and just how fast-paced some of those fights are, you're going to see a lot of similarities on there versus, of course, watching Coliseo. And so Florida Mayhem, I think that they just really are set up for a success when they've got Animo as that Lucio as well to just kind of speed everybody around.
Lexi just hit an air shot onto Sparker there. Beat from the Mayhem, running on forward. Little triple kill. Oh, yeah, there it is. Xe with a triple kill with that overclock. Backbone's on the point, but he has been thawed out. London Spitfire not having a beat of their own. End up losing that fight. Had he laid down the shadow, but it was already too little too late. And butt scratch mode in operation. The Florida Mayhem setting themselves up to knock London Spitfire out the park now.
I mean, look at they're so aggressive.
Oh,
this might come back to bite them.
Might, just might. Florida Mayhem tried to go super aggro into their spawn. Hardy put himself in between. I believe that was Xe and the rest of the team, so Xe couldn't really get an angle off on. That was not bad, but still, getting 75 meters, 74 meters, and having the checkpoint be completed. Yeah, Florida Mayhem are feeling pretty good.
Yeah, all they really need to do is stop London Spitfire from taking the lead, and Florida Mayhem can definitely do that. We've seen teams start to adjust to that, where it's not about completing the map, it's all about just kind of keeping the lead. So Florida Mayhem will play a bit more defensively here.
That was a very early ice block there from Backbone. Very reactive, but now he can't go aggro. Has to rely on Landon to back him up. Okay, there's the ice block used again. Man, super early. There's the beats. It's counter the blades. You take that though, Florida Mayhem. You still have a Rampage in tow, so they can just go in. 2 people hit. Landon and Spark are in trouble. Checkmate getting the resets. Hardy misses the ping, gets pooped back, and he's going all the way back to his backline, which has been dispatched with quite easily. Bot now in control of the Florida Mayhem. A perfect sequence of ults.
Yeah, and now you have the Nano as well to just kind of continue through that rotation. Whether it's going to be the I don't think you need it for the overclock. Like, Xe's going to be doing just fine with the overclock by itself. But maybe someone or Checkmate gets a chance to build up to their ultimate just a little bit faster.
Nano on Checkmate. Perfect person to give it to. He's already found one. Admiral's the next victim, but he gets chased down. Admiral just dancing on his head with the help of Backbone slowing the Genji. Florida Mayhem end up losing control of the bot, but still a few extra meters. Every single fight win, a couple of meters here, a couple of meters there. They got a lot of their bank to work with.
Yeah, just extending the lead, but I want to watch how Sparker was just able to use those magnetic grenades. Holy moly.
Nice.
Did get slept, but not after the hard work was already put in. And now Sparker does have the High Noon, which has been a great zoning tool for that hero.
Oh my god, Hardy is in. 5% towards that ult. Overclock from the high ground. Blizzard doesn't catch all of anybody. And now they have to worry about Xe just cleaning them up from the height. Yeah, they're just going to back up. They don't want to mess with it. You know, if you end up losing someone there, it's pretty bad. Checkmate gets pinned, but not before he does some damage. The shadow from Hardy lands on 2. Xe in trouble, and Backbone with the cleanup. This is the stand that London Spitfire needed to make, and they're standing tall.
There's the Chadi we all know and love. Perfect Earth Shatter, well timed, and now also you still have held on to that high noon from Sparker to use just to make sure that you can get this checkpoint and enter into that butt scratch mode. But you have to be careful because Animo does have that sound barrier, so that could be a lot of support.
Okay, I'm just gonna just steal the bot from you. They're hiding in the little cafe right there, so they're all good. There's the wall that we were kind of hoping would be a big tool in this fight. There's the beat very, very late for the Florida Mayhem, unable to help someone. Gosh, Sparky's die. Noon just gets incinerated. Yeah, Backbone also going to suffer the same fate if he's not careful. I mean, when we talk about ultimates in these compositions, it's always quite important to think about this blade from the Florida Mayhem. It's really only used to force out that beat, so Admiral has to play a very dangerous game here. Does he use this beat early on in this fight, or does he wait for it to wait for the blade from Checkmate to then counter that so Checkmate can't run away with the game? He's balancing on a knife's edge in this comp.
It's always, that's the conundrum for the Lucio or the Zenyatta, right? What do you use your ultimate for? Do you want to use it more as a defensive tool, or maybe try to use it for an engagement? Admiral's got to make a choice here.
Sleep. Good sleep. Nano boost available. Oh, that was a nice nade, but Hardy got the beats. He's still going pretty low. It looked like RuPaul was struggling to keep people alive, but Nano onto Checkmate's good enough. And now London Spitfire don't have that beat. They have to use it to keep themselves alive. Luckily, Admiral's there with the cleanup onto Checkmate, so he can't use that blade, but the Florida Mayhem still with the man advantage. Commanding shout to push people forward as the London Spitfire have little time and little meterage to now work with.
1 minute and 30 seconds is not enough time, it's going to feel like. I mean, the fact that Florida Mayhem have control of it now, they're going to keep pushing it closer and closer towards their goalpost. And London Spitfire, even if they win this next fight, Jaws, they're going to have to win 2-3 more. Overtime could just be in effect by then, and they're going to have to play flawlessly from here on out. And it's a tough ask.
Someone's in the background, I think. I'm not sure who it is, but someone's there. Someone. I don't know who I'm talking about at this point, I'm going to be real. Nice little overclock on the sideline. Checkmate ends up going down again. A late Blizzard usage from Backbone. XE jumps the back line and kills Landon, but the fight is as good as over. OT is approaching with 50 seconds to go. London may have won this fight, Rose, but they used one of their big ultimates, that Blizzard.
I mean, and when you have that out of the way, like, is the high noon going to be enough? You're really not using it at this point to try to get...
Was that a reflect? I'm not sure, but that's not good.
That's not good.
30 seconds.
Oh, that's not good.
And Nabor only just get back to the fight. 25 seconds to go. Florida Mayhem have the rampage, and London Spitfire do not have that beat. If Florida Mayhem go pretty early, it could be disaster for the London Spitfire. Commanding shout for someone. There's the rampage. Hits 3. Landed history. Sparker and Admiral in a whole lot of trouble. They do end up trading fairly evenly, though. It's a 3-on-3, but someone now with the Nano and Hardy with little health and little support left. Admiral's trying to get... They're trying to focus down Admiral. The knife ends up going a little bit wide, but Hardy receives the beat just in time. The London Spitfire aren't out of this just yet, with Sparker jumping over to the soldier to try and get back in time, but someone's not done just yet. Overtime ticking away. The beat for Mayhem will seal the deal. Backbone is gone, and there's only one person left on the point, and it's Landon. Reverse sweep halted as the Florida Mayhem find their first win in the Summer Showdown qualifiers.
They look so good, so clean. This Junker Queen composition feels like it was handcrafted just for the Florida Mayhem. I mean, you've got XE, one of the best Sojourns in the league right now, getting a chance to play Sojourn or Ashe. Checkmate really just showing up today with that Genji, and then boy, oh boy, does someone look so comfortable on the Junker Queen as well. Everything is just falling together so beautifully, and I think Florida Mayhem can walk away really happy with how well that win went for them.
Yeah, they hold the reverse sweep. That was what was important, right? I mean, I think you're spot on, like nail on the head there, Rose. Feels like this comp was almost designed for Florida Mayhem. They've got an exceptional Genji player, an exceptional Sojourn player, and someone has just picked up that Junker Queen and is already exceptionally proficient on it, it feels like. London Spitfire, they ended up trying what they're really good at, which is the rush, but it just didn't really work out in the end. There was Backbone trying to get these wall-offs, but none of them were really successful. I mean, maybe one or two, but nothing to make a ginormous impact. The Blizzards weren't really hitting either. The comp is incredibly fast-moving, worth keeping in mind. The Commanding Shout gives a speed boost to the rest of your team and yourself, plus that stacks with Lucio's speed. Like, it's tough to get the wall off.
Yeah, you're definitely zooming, and I think that has also lent a hand to just helping out that Florida Mayhem backline as well. You know, RuPaul Surmajed, maybe a couple of mistimed ultimates previously, but in this series, they looked so good. And of course, Animo being able to play that Lucio as well on more of these control style of maps, control and push. Really great stuff. Like, everything just feels so good for the Florida Mayhem right now. And Scott's probably very happy with himself.
He is very happy. And you know who I'm very happy for right now? It is Checkmate, who's going to be our player of the match. Who's really surprised? I'm like, he had like 25 and 4 on one of these maps.
Just leading up to map 3, right? 4 deaths.
His Genji is looking crazy. Yeah, 4 deaths. You know, you're just not dying. Ridiculous stuff from the Genji player already from the Florida Mayhem. You can kind of see why people are so high on him. And yeah, Scott is exceptionally pleased right now. The Florida Mayhem, their only supporter on the desk currently today. And yeah, he's rewarded with it, that is for sure. Yeah, congratulations, Checkmate, player of the match. I want to see if Mayhem are going to continue this role. I mean, I said at the very top of the show, Scott was high on them. Avast has been quite high on them too. I think a lot of people in their power rankings, looking at player to player to player, you're like, well, there's a lot to, they have a lot to gain from using this kind of composition. You can already see it in action. Checkmate's Genji way ahead of the rest right now. 13 final blows per 10, 3 Dragon Blade kills per 10. Like, Dragon Blade efficiency, which, look, it's not that great. Normally it's to force the normally force a support ultimate, but honestly just getting blade kills is feels like some sort of miracle every now and then. And death per 10, obviously 4.9. It looks good. It looks good.
It does. And I think that while, you know, Florida Mayhem look exceptional today, they still have a very hard test of strength coming up on Sunday, where they will be playing against the San Francisco Shock.
Oh yeah.
So that will be a great litmus test to see how they're going to do for the rest of the stage leading into the Summer Showdown. Speaking
of tests, we've got a lot of changes for this next two teams actually coming up. Houston Outlaws versus the NYXL. A lot to break down. We're going to jump to a quick break. The desk is going to take it from there.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here joined now by someone from Florida Mayhem. Someone, congratulations on the win. So let's jump right into the question. Someone, yes, Jungle Queen. What were your thoughts on it? I mean, you had an amazing performance. Yes, that is, of course, my first question. 일단 오늘 승리 너무 축하드리고 첫 번째 질문 간단하게 갈게요. 그리고 또 제가 봤을 때는 많은 분들이 굉장히 좀 궁금해하는 질문일 것 같아요. 정커 퀸에 대한 좀 이렇게 생각 어떠신가요?
지금 그 정커킨에 대한 생각은 저희가 연습이랑 이제 가끔 저도 컨텐츠 경기를 보거든요. 그때를 생각했을 때 이제 그 정커킨의 이제 시프트의 유지력과 궁극기 그 힐밴 그 5초라는 시간이 솔직히 말해서 좀 말도 안 된다고 생각하기 때문에 제 생각에는 아마 이 너프가 되지 않는다면 아마 이번 토너먼트는 정커킨의 메타가 될 것 같습니다.
All right, so through practice and also I did watch a lot of contenders on our break as well. But not only her shift ability, but her ult right now is pretty. It's really good and it's really OP. So unless they even nerf it slightly little bit more on her on a couple of her abilities and more on her ult, I do believe that we're going to be seeing basically just Jungle Queen all the time, and that is the only tank hero that we're going to be seeing. Not only the hero, but today you had an amazing performance, and your team, you guys have been looking dominant today throughout the whole series. But I think one of the most interesting things about, Florida Mayhem is that you guys, unlike what people predicted, your backline, you guys used more flex supports, the Ana Zen combo instead of the Lucio Brig. What was the thought process behind using the Ana Zen? 일단 두 번째 질문은 또 어떻게 보면 오늘 경기 들어오기 전에 많은 분들이 정커 퀸을 쓰면은 조금 이제 루시오 브리기테가 많이 기용이 될 거라고 예상을 했지만은 플로리다 팀은 그거를 이제 그 두 영웅을 쓰는 것보다 아나 젠야타를 좀 더 많이 기용을 하셨는데요. 그에 대한 이유가 있을까요?
저희가 이제 저번 토너먼트 때는 이제 아나젠이 이제 모든 맵이나 이제 화물 맵 같은 데서 많이 나왔는데 이제 저희가 루시오브를 하면서 이제 저희도 초반에 루시오브를 준비했다가 이렇게 긴 맵 같은 데나 이제 화물 맵 같은 데는 이제 제냐타의 밸류가 좀 높지 않을까? 이 생각을 하면서 이제 써봤는데 그게 이제 스크림 때나 그리고 다른 팀도 안 쓰는 이유가 좀 하기 힘들어서인데 저희가 연습 때 좀 잘 통했던 것 같아가지고 아마 기용했던 것 같습니다.
Simple answer is because during practices it worked better for our team. Of course, we did use more. We did try out the Lucio Brig in our scrims and practices, but we found out that when we were trying the Ana Zen, we felt like it will work really well for maps that are payload maps or maps that have a longer range. But when it came down to it for our sort of play style, we found that the Ana Zen worked for our composition. All right, someone, that is it for the questions. Thank you so much for your time and hope to talk to you again soon. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 시간 내주셔서 너무나 감사합니다. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
The Florida Mayhem get off to a good start, 1-0 in the very first Summer Showdown qualifier match, and certifying themselves as the better team over the London Spitfire now after reverse sweeping them in the mid-season madness and then also beating them now again in the Summer Showdown qualifiers. A great moment here for the Florida Mayhem. Are we surprised by this win at all, or do we think like this could be the stage for the Florida Mayhem? Like, long have they awaited? It's time for the Mayhem.
Well, I think we hold the reins a little bit for the Florida Mayhem because
all right.
I was a little worried about the London Spitfire in this match, and I think a lot of my concerns really came to fruition in this match. We saw a lot of different looks for them, and they're not looking as comfortable on some of these heroes. So I want to sort of talk about some of these maps and the things that we saw. So we went to the mirror head-to-head on this first map on Busan, and obviously the Florida Mayhem just got away on a very quick start, and that was sort of the first look at what we're going to see at this Junker Queen versus Junker Queen, this Jotes meta. And the Florida Mayhem just look so comfortable. Checkmate on that Genji. I highlighted him at the start of the match, just going absolutely crazy. But then we went over to this Hollywood, and the Sparka Sombra is the thing that I think is probably sticking out to a lot of people's brains, because they tried it here and they also tried it on the Watchpoint Gibraltar, and it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense because you're not going to be able to get enough damage out there to really sort of isolate anyone. They're sort of so dependent on getting a good hack and isolating that one target. But EMP is so useless against, you know, a Lucio has a sound barrier, the rally that can come out from the Brig, the commanding shout just from the Junker Queen can shut that down as well. So it didn't really work. And the one time that we really saw them find some purchase was when they just played the meta. They got Sparker over to that Sojourn and they started getting this defense, and that's how they got this Gibraltar done. But overall, I think Florida Mayhem is the better team in this meta, and the London Spitfire have a couple of things to work out because the rush on that Colosseo did not work.
Yeah, that was a pretty brutal Colosseo. Yeah, it was pretty rough as well. And you saw XC pop off with the railgun. Of course, moments like this, get a pick onto Sparker, and you know you get rid of the Cassidy. Hadi's not able to find value with the Earth Shatter. Like it was a pretty tough go around. Now I predicted the London Spitfire, and I was like, well, you know, this is the best rush team in the world. Maybe they can force it out, but not able at all. And here you see the Genji stats, as you mentioned, Kosa.
Wow.
Yeah, and like, you know, Checkmate absolutely going crazy. Like, it is one of his signature heroes, and he's showing it. Like, his value getting on the blades as well against a composition like this was very high. But on the other foot, Backbone Genji has been something that he's struggled with all year. He is phenomenal on the Mei and some of these other heroes, but for the London Spitfire, I don't think Genji is going to be the solution for them and playing the pure meta. They need to find a hero for Backbone that he's going to be more successful on.
Danny, you worried about the London Spitfire after that first loss, or do you think it was just like a bump in the road? You know, they'll get back on track. They got a good coaching staff. Do you think it's...
You know, it's the first match of the stage.
Okay.
And also, I'm sure it's not only London, but I think there's going to be a lot more other teams that are going to try new stuff and, you know, try new things out. So I don't worry too much about London. Actually, I do a little bit because after seeing that rush, yeah, you know what? I changed my mind. Yes, I'm a little bit worried.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully they figure something out.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, them also playing Junker Queen quite a lot on Busan and stuff. I think they recognize that, like, maybe Rush ain't it. You know, maybe we should play more Junker Queen. So I think we're expecting more of that from the London Spitfire the rest of this stage. Now, addressing the meta a little bit, all the heroes being played and stuff. That was the very first match we got to see. I just came up with a bit of a segment here now, a bit of a show. I haven't run it by production, so you know we just.
Oh, you're just gonna do it?
Just run along with me.
Right,
Okay,
let's go.
it's fine. We'll do it live. Okay. Here's a new segment for you. Pro or throw.
Okay.
And I want to address some of the hero picks we saw in that very match. So to kick us off, Costa, you mentioned the Sombra already. Sombra, pro or throw?
Flat throw. I don't see any upside to the Sombra. Like, it worked one time. They hacked in the first night of Hollywood. They hacked someone and killed him, and they're like, yeah. And then the next time they just died, and they're like,
Yeah. Okay.
It just doesn't feel good.
Daddy, you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, Sombra for throw. Yeah, we already addressed Sombra. We don't have to talk more about Sombra. That's fine.
Pro or throw. So what would be a pro?
Well, maybe this next one. Maybe this next one.
Oh, there's another one. Okay.
And you talked to someone about it in your interview. Sen Ana, double flex support. Pro or throw, Danny?
I think pro on certain maps. Like someone said, like if it's a long range map, or for escort or payload maps, I think. Yes, pro.
Okay, but if you ran into like Sen, or like you were playing Sen or something, because you're a flex support player, if you were playing Sen and like you got like an Ana or something, and you're playing, I don't know, like King's Row, you'd be like, this is a throw. Like, I'm going to block you, and I want to avoid you as teammate.
If they can close the distance, especially against how good these Genjis are, they just like murder you. Remember, Zen has 25 less shields than Zenyatta had in the last meta, so I think it can be difficult. RuPaul made the Ana look really good though. His biotic nades were enormous and teamfight winning, so I actually like the Ana more than Zenyatta, but I like the idea on certain maps with the Zenyatta and the Ana.
All right, and then we got one more hero here. Costa's not allowed to answer, but that then is. Pro or throw, Danny? Reinhardt.
Pro!
Yeah!
Let's go! So, there's gonna be one team.
Okay.
There's gonna be one team that's gonna make it work.
London Spitfire can't make it work. What makes you think anyone else can?
He's muted.
Shanghai Dragons!
Pro. Reinhardt is the pro mode. We got our second match coming up here in the Summer Showdown qualifiers. For this next match, it's going to be the New York Excelsior against the Houston Outlaws. And, you know, we already went through some of the roster changes in the pre-show, of course. And I think we can expect a couple of these additions making themselves into the lineup for this next match. It's going to be pretty exciting. Do you give this match like a bit of an upset alert here at all? 1 to 10, is there an upset alert?
There's so many moves coming from both of these teams. Like, maybe for all we know, Ansun J is like the key to the New York Excelsior, and they're just going to unlock because, as we always say, and we need to say for the first time in this tournament, the talent is there for the New York Excelsior. Maybe they'll finally live up to it. While with the Houston Outlaws, this is talent that is unknown. Like, you know, Lep and Doge, we don't know how good these guys are. Are they going to play in this match? You know, it should be a good meta for them. We know contenders have been playing on this meta for a while. They should have more experience than most.
All right, Danny, we gotta go, but 1 to 10, just give me a number, upset alert. How big of a chance is it New York upsets the Houston Outlaws? 1 to 10, just give me a number.
1 to 10?
No thinking.
5.
5. Here you go. 50% chance.
50%.
However that works. That New York
Win or
Excelsior
lose,
upsets the
it's
Houston
50-50.
Outlaws. That's going to do it for our game break here in the Watchpoint truck. It's time to send it over to our casters. It's going to be Lemon Kiwi and Leg Day.
Hello everyone, match number 2 of the Overwatch League, and it's the Summer Showdown debut. We got 2 returning teams, of course, New York Excelsior versus the Houston Outlaws. We got 2 returning casters, Leg Day and myself. But everyone get your waves in, because we're welcoming 3 new players to the league, and also they're debuting today. We got Lep, we got Doge, and Ansun J. I'm excited to see them play today.
Yeah, 2 on the Houston Outlaws and 1 on the New York Excelsior. Lemon, Danny might be 50% worried about the London Spitfire, but I'm 100% pumped up for this match. It's going to be our first time casting Jotes, Junker Goats, because it's a speedy Junker Queen. I like to call it Lightning McQueen, but that probably went past legal, so...
Too late.
Yeah, you know, we get the one. Let's... think about who's come into these rosters, because both of these teams have made the same move to address the same weakness, and that's that both of these rosters came in with more flex supports and no main supports, and that's why Doge and Lep have been brought in. Lep in particular is coming in to play the main support through his career in contenders that we've cast a good amount of. Lemon, Lep has played a really good Lucio, some Brig, and some Mercy, so he's a career main support. And the question is, alongside Lastro, are they going to allow Lastro to play on the Lucio when Lep might actually be a little bit better at that hero, but Lastro's had the expertise in it from the first stage of a tournament, and put Lep on the Brigitte? Or are they going to move Lastro over to the Brig and have him learn another main support while Lep plays his best hero on the Lucio?
I'm thinking Lep is, you know, we had some kind of pro or throw segment on the desk. I'm thinking professional skater boy Lep, and I'll call it here. Doge will also be premiering in this match, and I know a good bit about him. He's a main tank stemming from Europe, really known for his Winston and Hammond, and he's been trialing actually for a few teams, but finally has made it past the whole visa hurdle that a lot of the European players are suffering through. And what's interesting is hearing from the Houston Outlaws that Doge and Dante will actually be trading off on Junker Queen duties, and I really love this, especially for Doge, who's new to the league, you know, can kind of acclimate slowly and not just have a ton of playtime on his shoulders and just have all the stress. So Dante and Doge will be trading off on the Junker Queen. And more about Doge, he's an extremely vocal player, so if he gets subbed out or subbed in for Dante, you're not going to lose that natural leadership that you need in these fights.
On the other side, we have the New York Excelsior Lemon, a team that is, let's say, languishing in Overwatch League 2022, but some injection of both new and old blood might change the fortunes for this team. The coaching staff has been shuffled around a little bit, but on your screens right now, you can see Ansun J has been added to this roster. Another main support player had a pretty successful run over in Korean contenders A-sides just recently, I believe, with Talon getting 2nd place. So Ansun J has played against some tough competition in this meta already, and may bring some of that understanding to the team pre-packaged.
And, you know, there's a lot of fires or maybe some red flags going on. I mean, we have to talk about the elephant of the room. New York releasing their head coach. And this is, you know, Kuki being a player all the way back from the Apex days, has that Overwatch League experience. Now it's only Undine and Gesture who are leading that, who were formerly assistant coaches. So it's not clear on whether the release is because of the results or maybe Kuki's going for another career. But New York, this meta, you gotta trust it. Yaki and Flora were already playing Genji and Sojourn at the end of mid-season madness. They've had an extended break because they're not qualifying for tournaments, but because the Summer Showdown is independent. Now, whatever your results that you had in previous tournaments or previous regular season, it only matters how you do in these qualifiers for the Summer Showdown. So this is a fresh slate for New York to play off of, and maybe a meta that can suit them now that they've had so much extra time to learn it.
You're exactly right, Lemon. And getting into the Summer Showdown for New York Excelsior is going to be incredibly important because they're also looking towards the end of the season and those play-ins to get into our overall playoffs and championship. And honestly, 1-11 is not going to cut it if you want to try and make it into our Countdown Cup. Here's a quick look at our map pool. Nepal has entered today. It's going to be our first Nepal of Overwatch League 2022, but I think we all know what we're planning to expect here. It is, of course, going to be the Junker Queen and the Lucio. And when I say that, because both Junker Queen and Lucio have their own speed boost for the team, 30% speed boost by default, and then going upwards, I believe, when amped it up for Lucio, and 30% from a commanding shot of a Junker Queen. And on control, it's incredibly important to use those speed boosts to get the better position for the first fight.
And this kind of already elaborated on this meta already, but we call it Jodes or Goads because now you have 3 healing sources, the Lucio,